Hello and welcome to my school channel. My name is Angela, and in this video we're going to begin the topic by topic video lessons for government. So we're going to begin with the first unit, which is basic elements in government, and we're going to start with the first topic, which is introduction to government and basic concepts. So I've divided this video lesson into 3 segments. For the first segment, we're going to begin with the definition and scope of government. Please stay with us, don't go anywhere, we'll be right back. Welcome back to my school channel. We're going to begin with the first segment of this video lesson, and we're going to begin with the learning objectives. So for this lesson, we have 4 learning objectives. We're going to begin with the definition and scope of government, where we define government, we give the various definitions of government, and then we'll move on to those various areas of government that is covered by that particular terminology. And after that, we'll move on to state, society, nation, and nation-state. I'm sure you're very aware of these various concepts, and sometimes we may confuse these concepts with one another. So we're going to discuss the differences between each of them. And then we'll move on to power, authority, legitimacy, and sovereignty. These are very important concepts in government, and we're going to see it as we move through the different topics. Then we'll move on to political socialization, political participation, and political culture. This is where we'll discuss how we relate to one another, especially with regards to political ideas, values, and how we share this with one another, and how as we share this with one another, we form groups that determine how we select leaders who is going to assume political offices in our country. So we're going to discuss each of these various objectives in the following slides. So let's move on to the next slides. Alright, so we're going to begin with the definition and scope of government. Alright, so the first question is, what is government? Sometimes when we talk about government, we usually use it when we talk about how the government is bad. But what exactly is this concept government? What is it referring to? Is it the president? Is it the various governors in our various states? Is it the lawmakers in the National Assembly? What exactly is government? So that is a very important question that we're going to discuss in the following slide. All right, so the concept government can be defined as 3 various things. It can be defined as an institution of the state. It can be defined as the art or process of governing, and it can be defined as an academic field of study. So we're going to discuss each of these various definitions. All right, so let's begin with government as an institution of the states. So government as an institution of the states is defined as the machinery established by the states to organize the states, manage its affairs, and administer its functions and duties. So this is the definition of government as an institution of the states. Here we're referring to government as a body of people who are responsible for managing the affairs of the states. Okay, so it's different from government as an act or process of governing, because right now we're talking about the government as a body, as a machinery. So let's move on to the next slide. All right, government arose from people living together and forming associations. That's how government started. You know, before we had the president, before we had the governors in our society, it all started from people living together and forming associations with one another. You know, when you move outside of your family to talk to other people in the society, you have to interact with them, and sometimes conflict arises as a result of that. So when you form association with other people outside of your family, sometimes it may lead to conflicts because you have differences of opinions, values, and ideas. So sometimes those who are weak in the society may be dominated by the strong, and those who are poor might be dominated by the wealthy. As a result of that, we needed a body that is responsible for administering the relationship between the strong and the weak, the rich and the poor in the society. And so that's when the concept of government, first of all, came into our minds as members of society. So government is formed as a result to administer justice and to ensure the protection of the weak from the strong and the poor from the wealthy. So that is the reason why we formed government in the society. So without this government, there will be anarchy, lawlessness in the society, and there will be disorder. We will not be able to relate with one another properly in the society. So the institution of government is typically structured into 3 organs. So when we're talking about the organs of government or the arms of government, we're talking about the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. We understand the executive is responsible for implementing policies and enforcing the law in the society. The legislature is responsible for making the laws in the society, while the judiciary is responsible for interpreting the law and then punishing lawbreakers. So all of these are what forms the body that is responsible for administering the affairs of the state, for organizing the state, and administering its functions and duties. It is the organs of government that is responsible for doing that, and it is these organs of government that is the institution of the state. So now let's move on to government as an art or process of governing. So government as an art or process of governing is the body vested with the supreme power of managing state affairs, which includes creating and enforcing laws and policies, interpreting laws, and administering punishment to those who violate them. So now we're no longer talking about government as the body. We are moving on to government as an art, as the process of governing. So we're talking about the function of government in this case. When we say in the government of a particular society, we're talking about in the process of governing that society. So in that particular sentence, in the government of a society, we're talking about those functions that are attributed to the government in a particular society. Then we're talking about the art or process of governing. So here we're talking about the body vested with the power to manage the state affairs, to create and enforce laws. Now we're talking about the function of the legislature and the executive. The legislature is responsible for creating laws. The executive is responsible for enforcing them. And then the judiciary is responsible for interpreting the laws and administering punishment to those who violate them. You can see now we're talking about the functions of government, those things that the government does in the society in order to make sure things run smoothly. So let's move on to the next thing. The laws and policies are usually aimed at promoting the overall well-being of the society. So all of these laws and policies that are made by the government are responsible for ensuring that everybody in the society is being treated properly, right? So that the society can continue to exist and continue to enjoy the benefits of living in that particular society. That is the reason why laws and policies are created. So it is also important that the government should involve citizens in most actions and decisions. Although this does not happen in some nations of the world, sometimes they do not involve the citizens in the decision-making process. But in most society, it is essential that members of the society are involved in the decision-making process of the country. Also, the efficiency of government depends on the separation of power. We talked about three organs of government: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. All of these organs of government have distinct functions, and they are meant to focus on each of these functions that they have and not to interfere in the affairs of other organs of government. So this is how the government can run efficiently in the society. When the legislature makes law and does not interfere in the process of the executive enforcing the law. When the executive enforces the law, it should not interfere in the process of the legislature making the law. That's how power is separated in society, and that's how the government functions efficiently in their duty while they're in the process of governing. So each organ of government operates within defined roles and responsibility outlined in the Constitution. So for the Constitution of a particular country, the roles and responsibilities of each of these organs of government are stipulated to make sure that they know their function in the society and they perform those functions. So all of this is what we're talking about when we're talking about government as an art or process of governing, as they are performing their duties and functions of governing the nation. So now let's move on to the next definition of government. Government as an academic field of study. This is exactly what we are doing now. We're studying government as an academic field of study. We are learning how the government works in the society. So this is the definition. It is the field that explores political institutions within a state and examines concepts such as ideas, values, and doctrines about politics, the views of political thinkers, and what constitutes the welfare of the people. So as we move on, we are going to be discussing how the government works in the society. We are going to be discussing various ideas such as communism, republicanism, so many different ideas that have been developed by so many people in the society to ensure the smooth running of government in their society. We're going to discuss all of this and see how the government actually puts these ideas into practice. We're going to discuss the values and the doctrines about politics. We're going to discuss the views of political thinkers. There are so many political thinkers who have various views about how the government should be run. So we're going to discuss all of this under government as an academic field of study. So let's move on. So government, often studied as political science, is a fundamental subject in schools and universities. So some of us are going to be studying political science in the university. And when you're studying political science, you're studying government as an academic field of study. So this particular field, political science, encompasses areas like international relations, public administration, comparative politics, and more. So all of these are branches of political science. So for those of us that are studying political science, you may be studying these as courses in the university. Then the study of government as a science is a different matter. All of this, you're studying government as an art. You're just talking about the process in which the government make decisions and implement policies in the society. That's as an art. But when you're studying government as a science, we are talking about how you make use of computers, research methods, statistics, and data analysis to understand politics. So this time around, you're using scientific methods to understand how different political systems are run in the society and how they help in the process of the development of those societies. So government intersects with so many various subjects like economics. So when you're talking about the budget and how it helps in developing the nation, you're talking about how government relates with economics. When you're talking about market regulations, when you're talking about different market systems like capitalism and socialism, you're talking about the interrelation between government and economics. Government is also related to history because sometimes we study the history of the government in the society. We study how different systems have been used in the past and how they worked or did not work so that we will learn from that. So that's how government relates to history and so on and so forth. Government also relates to sociology, philosophy, psychology, and mathematics. So there are different ways in which government relates to this subject. So it provides a comprehensive understanding of how societies are organized, governed, and interact domestically and internationally. So all of these are going to be studied under political science, especially when you go to university. We're also going to study that here while we are studying government. Okay, so let's move on to the next slide. So here are the branches of government as an academic field of study. So we have 5 various branches. We have public administration. Under public administration, we are talking about the field that focuses on the implementation of government policies and programs. So if you're planning on working in different public agencies, in the civil service, and so on, you might choose to study public administration in university. There you will learn how to implement the budget that has been created by the president, how to implement them in various sectors of the economy. You will learn about how to administer various personnel in government. Then you also talk about the decision-making process within different government organizations. So if you like something like that, you may want to study public administration. Then you can also study international relations, where you talk about diplomacy, conflict resolution, international law, globalization, and the role of international institutions like the United Nations. Here you can be a foreign diplomat, where you represent your country when different countries of the world come together to make decisions on how different global issues should be addressed. So you can study international relations for that. Then we also have political thoughts and theories. You can study this under philosophy, where you study the political thoughts of different political thinkers like Plato, Aristotle, Machiavelli, Hobbes, Locke, Rousseau, Marx, etc. So you study different concepts like communism, socialism, capitalism, so many different concepts, and then you learn how these concepts are being actualized in different systems of governments all around the world. Then you can also study political economy, where you examine the relationship between politics and economics. So you study how budgets are made in different countries of the world and how they are implemented. You also study different market systems and market regulations, how you value or devalue different currencies of the world and things like that. So if you're interested in that, you can study political economy. Then we also have comparative politics, where you study the similarities and differences between governance models and political behavior worldwide. So we have different systems in the world. And so these different systems, they run the government in different ways. And so you study the similarities and differences between them, and you see which is better and which is worse in the administration of the affairs of that particular country. And you know which system of government should be popularly used in different countries of the world. So if you're interested in something like that, you can study comparative politics. So now let's move on to the next slide. All right, why do we study government? Why is it important that we study government and everything associated with it? First of all, the study of government helps develop citizens who are informed of their rights, duties, and responsibilities. You are a citizen of the country, and when you are studying government, you are learning about what the society can do for you. That's your rights. Those things that the society is expected to do for citizens of the country. You also learn about your duties and obligations, what you're expected to do in a particular society. All of these are studied under government. Then it also provides insights into different political systems and how governments are organized, how power is distributed, and how political decisions are made. Here you also learn about different political systems and how the governments in your country actually make decisions and how all of these decisions they make are implemented in the society. Then we also study government because it provides us with the knowledge of electoral processes, systems of advocation, etc. So you learn how to participate in the election process. You also learn how to advocate for your rights, for your interests in the government. So it prepares you to participate effectively in political processes. You'll be able to participate actively in the political decisions that are made in your country. Then the study of government also increases global awareness. It broadens our knowledge on global issues and cross-cultural interactions. So you learn about different political systems in the world. You learn how people live in other countries, how different governments make decisions in other countries of the world. And you also learn whether maybe that particular system will be good for you, whether you want to move there, or whether you want to invest in that particular country. When you learn government, you learn about all of these things, and it will make you to make more informed decisions as you move on in the world. Then the study of government provides people the opportunity to become future political leaders. So when you study government, you learn about the system, the government system in a particular country, and you learn whether you are suitable to administer the affairs of that particular country. So it guides you in making a career in politics. Then another reason why we study government is that it provides us the opportunity to know how conflicts originate and how they can be resolved. So we're also going to be learning about various political crises in Nigeria and in other places in the world. So you learn how conflicts start and how they are resolved, so that whenever you find yourself in conflicts like that, you might be able to find solutions to these conflicts. So you learn about conflict management in government. Then another reason why we study government is that it helps us to prevent mistakes of past political leaders from being repeated. You know, in the past, we have had so many different political systems in Nigeria. Some of them were successful, most of them were not. So you learn from the mistakes of the past, and you learn not to repeat those mistakes when you study government. Okay, so we've come to the end of the first segment of this video lesson. I believe it was enlightening and educative. Please, if you want to continue with us, do well to click the link in the description below. This takes you to my school website where you can subscribe to the government topic by topic video lesson so that you can continue with us. I hope to see you there. I hope you've enjoyed this content. If yes, please do not forget to hit the like button, click on the subscribe button, and lastly, tap on the notification bell to get informed as soon as we release the next videos.